Time, ever so precious, slips swiftly by, and the changes that ensue leaves us with a sigh. In the distant corners of memory, beyond the emerald hills and crystal clear waters, having pierced the veil of countless illusions, I am guided by a divine light. At the journey's end, the ultimate truth awaits, where trees stand barren and flowers wilt. In lands devoid of life and hope, silently, a new cycle takes root. Good morning, Burbs. My name is Atlasia, and I would like to tell you a little tale that I've heard from an earnest bard in the city of Icalake. Have you ever wondered what exactly are the Charons and where they came from? Charon means those who came from the Misty Sea. Throughout the story of Duet Night Abyss, many of you may already have crossed paths with a certain fairy woman named Lady Nephil. She is the one who guides the soul of Charons back into the Misty Sea, the place where everything began, the origin of all things. Ever since the dawn of existence, a sacred tree rose up from the misty seas. Its canopy stretched across the heavens, and each of its branches became a heaven tree. Its roots, meanwhile, cradled the world. The tree eventually bloomed with white flowers, and from them stepped forth Mother Emble. She created all things, and from her came Father Ask. Together, they gave birth to the first of the Charons. But not all stories has a happy end. Mother Emble, who with her birth created all of life, despite her love for all of existence itself, Father Ask became the bearer of the power of death and eventually a vessel of calamity. In the end, it was he who brought ruin to the world, the cataclysm we call Ragnarok. In the final hour, Mother Emble, keeper of the power of life, gathered her children and sheltered them. But eventually, even she cannot fight against the power of death. Her soul, broken, shattered, and eventually scattered into the ocean, at last returned to the Misty Sea, the place where everything began. While what is left of Father Ask's body became the land. His arms upraised became the mountains, still reaching for the gods who no longer come. This is the story of how the Charons came into being, and why in the land of Ellesium, the Charons are venerated as divine messengers enthroned in sacred halls. The scholars from the Ellesian church themselves once remarked, the history of Atlasia is the history of the heaven trees themselves. As the heaven trees grow fruit-like crystals shining as bright as the moon, known as Phoxines, and when the Solarians and the Charons that still yet live on the continent made fire for the first time with Phoxines, they were amazed by the flame's lasting glory. In awe, they all knelt down around the heaven tree and started to pray, paying homage to the gods. Later on, started to spread the gospel, and thus the first nation on the continent, Ellesium, came into existence. 1300 years after the birth of the Ellesian church, the divine light of the gods have permeated the land like trees spreading its roots. The people living there, once born equal, were eventually divided onto different social classes. While every follower of the church bathed in the gods' divine light, some enjoyed greater privileges. Thus began an upheaval known as the Great Migration. Groups of nobles and people rallied like fallen leaves and left Ellesium. Eventually those who no longer believed in the gods traveled to the north, where the church did not hold any sway. There, across the forests, marshes, and valleys, they arrived in a vast wilderness. Disheartened nobles, alchemists, sages, and exiles eventually met up at a sole point where their destinies converged. There, the many groups bid farewell, setting their own ways and going through their own journeys, eventually establishing many new countries, with one among them being the Hyperborean Empire. After the Hyperborean Empire was established, it ruthlessly devoured other small countries, recruiting the wandering alchemists and their foxicore technology. Eventually, the Empire became powerful enough to rival the Ellesium Church themselves. And what is left of the Charons in the Hyperborean Empire is but a prologue to a misery much greater. A story of which will unfold before our eyes in Duet Night Abyss. Heavy, vast, and full of pain. Yet, it is said that endings can always bring a new beginning. Just as it is said that Mother Emble and Father Ask were reborn after the world's end, that they, in new forms, could be walking again in the new world. And as history repeats itself, one day they would also bring about another ending, another calamity. Thus, the world turns ever in cycles, like an hourglass. Life and death, again and again, with an ending nowhere in sight. Yet the gods still weave the stars onto their paths, gifting us with guiding lights that lead us towards eternal bliss. Yet in our times, humanity has strayed from her teachings. We have forsaken the bonds of love and compassion, choosing instead to arm ourselves with cold steel against our own kin. Our sacred lands have crumbled, and even her sanctuaries has been defiled. Should this be the ordeal she has devised, a somber prelude to the dawn, then to you, the destined one who will reach this place one day, will be offered a blessing that transcends time itself. Hiya everyone! Alright, that's the end of the story here. So what I kind of did with this piece was, earlier today I kind of just went into the game and just decided, alright, it's time for me to read a lot of like conversations, lore, things like that. I was genuinely trying to find the readables and just like try to connect the dots between all the stories and the stuff that was presented from the official media. And this was kind of what came out of it. At first I was gonna just summarize all this, but I feel like it would be a little more dramatic and different if I kind of just summarized the whole story and wrote it in my own words, while using excerpts from the original to basically tell what is the story of the origin of the world itself to all of you. I don't know if this style of storytelling is interesting or if I did it well or not or anything, so feel free to give me feedback, whether you just want to hear me talk normally like this and just discuss the story pieces and lore and all of that, or did you prefer the, storytelling style of like a little bit more drama and a little more emotive acting kinda. That being said though, it is a little difficult to do a lot of content like this for now because the lore and readables we have is a little bit limited, and the story is still in like 1.0 patch and people are still getting used to everything, Hell, I don't even know if in the future any of these lore might actually just be changed or just retconned or whatever, because things like that can happen in stories and it's not necessarily like a bad thing, but it's just something that can happen. Anyhow, I do hope you enjoyed this little experimental piece. Given the opportunity though, I would love to do more of this stuff. So we will see how things play out. But for now, take care of yourselves and don't forget to smile. I'll see you very, very soon.